On today's show, we're looking for people to make a difference in the community. Do you like helping people? Do you want to prevent crime and improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods? If so, find out how you can on this edition of Protecting Our Community. Hello, and welcome to our Protecting Our Community. I'm your host, Brian Coyle. Our goal is to improve the quality of living by giving you knowledge of agencies and organizations that are here to help you. We will provide speakers from local, state, and federal agencies, as well as community leaders by providing you with useful information to help protect yourself and your community. Today, we'll spend the show finding out how you can become one of Philly's finest. We have from the Philadelphia Police Department Recruitment Unit, Sergeant Robert Ryan. He's here to inform you about the qualifications and requirements to become an officer in the city of brotherly love. Sergeant Ryan, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Good to see you, Brian.
How are you?
Everything's going well. How about you?
Awesome. So tell us, how long have you been a Philadelphia police officer?
I've been on the force for 11 years. Started in 2008 when I graduated, and prior to that I worked as a human resources generalist out of college before I made the transition into policing.
Okay, so why did you choose a career in law enforcement, and why Philadelphia?
One of the things was I always wanted to sort of serve my community, and I found the job I originally was doing didn't really fit me. It was always a passion from when I was a very young kid to be a police officer, and what better to do it in the fourth largest police department in the country. Being a resident of Philadelphia, it seemed like a no-brainer just to come here and work for the city.
All right. So can you explain what the police department's recruitment unit, the responsibilities of the unit?
Sure, yeah. The recruitment unit is really just to make sure that we get the word out to all walks of life that we're recruiting. We really want to make sure the department represents the community in which it serves. And we have a team of 8 officers that go out daily to make sure that we're targeting all groups and let them know this is a viable profession, and that if they're interested in serving the community, we want them to join.
All right, great. Well, before we continue, I want all the viewers to be informed of the mission statement of the Philadelphia Police Department. Our mission is to be the model of excellence in policing by working in partnership with the community and to others. Fight crime and fear of crime, including terrorism. Enforce laws while safeguarding the constitutional rights of all people. Provide quality service to all of our residents and visitors. And create a work environment in which we recruit, train, and develop an exceptional team of employees. So, recruitment. So this is what we're talking about today. What are the steps for someone to apply for the Philadelphia Police Department?
So typically what happens is about twice or 3 times a year we have a recruitment drive. An applicant would have to log on to joinphillypd.com, which is the recruitment website, fill out an application. At that time, they would have to upload transcripts if they have college or any other kind of certifications that would give them extra points to the final score. Once they finalize their application and the recruitment drive closes out, the Human Resources Department will then look at all the applicants, make a determination where they're ranked on the eligibility list, and would be notified. Then they'll be notified via email where they're ranked on the eligibility list. The hiring lists are good for 2 years. So typically there's a long time sometimes for a process to be called. We typically get through the whole entire list. So once they apply online, they're going to get a rank number after the application period has closed out, and really it's just a waiting game for us to call you for orientation.
All right. So what is the age requirement for someone who wants to be a law enforcement officer in Philadelphia?
You have to be 22 on the date of appointment. So that means that you can apply when you're 20, but if you're not 22 on the date of the appointment, if you were to get hired, you would have to wait until you were 22 to be eligible to go into the police academy. Okay.
And a driver's license. Is a driver's license a must? Or can you just get on a bike or work at a desk?
Well, you're going to need to have a driver's license before you're appointed to the police academy. But going through the process, you would not need to have a driver's license. But by the time you were appointed into the police academy, you would need to have a driver's license. One of the things is in policing, you have to drive a police car, so we want to make sure that you have a skill set that shows you can drive a vehicle before going through driver training within the police academy.
Okay. Does one have to live in Philadelphia?
To apply for the position, you do not have to live in the city of Philadelphia. You have 1 year to move in if you were to get hired. Then you would stay, you could stay for 5 years, and then the option to move outside the city, anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay. What about the education? Does a person need college credits or a high school diploma?
Well, originally we had required 60 college credits. We have since changed it about 2 years ago just to require a high school diploma or equivalency. If you do have an associate's or a bachelor's or master's degree, you will be awarded extra points to your final score. So one does not need, like I said, any kind of college any longer.
Okay. Is there a PT requirement, physical training requirement for one to go through the process?
Mm-hmm. So once you get called for orientation, one of the components is the physical fitness agility tests. So there is a process that applicants must meet the 30th percentile in 4 components. That would be the 300-meter run, the bench press, sit-ups, and the 1.5 mile run.
Okay. So the I'm looking here. The events for a male between 20 and 29 years of age, they have to do the 1.5 miles in 13 minutes and 15 seconds.
Correct.
And then for a female, between the ages 20 and 29, she's going to have to do the 1.5 miles in 15 minutes and 46 seconds.
That's correct.
And that's for them to go through the process.
Correct, correct. And then if they were to get into the police academy to graduate, we would have different requirements. The standards increase the 50th percentile, so the times decrease. The other thing is when graduating from the police academy, you no longer do the bench press. We've instituted push-ups instead. So that's just one little change that an applicant, if they were to get hired into the police academy, would have to then go through to graduate.
Okay. Okay. The comprehension testing, what is that? I know it's on the website, it's the Nelson-Denny reading test.
That's correct.
Can you explain what that is about?
Yeah, it's one part vocabulary, the other part is reading comprehension. It measures an applicant's reading ability to ensure they can read above a 9th grade level. So that's the first component when you come to orientation. You must pass that in order to move to the next component, which would be the physical agility test. If you do not pass the first Nelson-Denny reading test, then you would have to reapply for the position. You'd be done in the phase of hiring.
Is there any way somebody could prepare to take a test like this?
You can go online and look at practice tests they offer online. We don't endorse anything as the City of Philadelphia, but there's some websites out there that do give you some kind of knowledge about what's expected during that test.
Okay, so I'm sure to be a Philadelphia police officer, you have to go through some type of medical examination and drug screening. Can you explain anything about that? Yeah,
so once you get done with the physical agility test, eventually you'll be given your PDQ booklet, which is to go and begin your background check. There's a lot of requirement documents that have to be brought into your investigator. They begin to do your background check. If everything seems to go well during that phase, you'll be given a medical date for the city doctors to go down to see that you're fit for duty at that time. At that time, there's also a drug urinalysis as well as a hair sample that is taken from you.
Okay. Sounds very complicated. A lot of investigation going into to select the best.
It
correct?
is. I mean, really, we want to vet people really well. It's probably one of the most vetted occupations. If we're going to give someone a badge and a gun, we're going to make sure they're the right people on the street.
Well, absolutely. And I understand you have to go through a psychological test.
We do, yes. Before that, there's also a polygraph that one would have to go through. And then eventually the psychological test, which is given the MMPI COPS test, and then you meet with a psychologist for an hour.
Okay. Are they still doing the polygraph examination, other known as the lie detector test?
Well, it is the polygraph. It's really used as an investigative tool.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we have changed over the years. So.
All right. A lot of stuff to know. So the background unit, what kind of, they do, you were explaining about they do an extensive background investigation on. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Basically what the background unit is there to do is to set those applicants coming through to make sure that they are the best people to serve the community. So really what it is that they're going to give you a booklet, about 50-some pages from the time you're born till now, exactly where you lived, prior occupation, schools, anyone that you sort of came in contact with could verify that you would be a good officer, and also look at relatives as well as any kind of criminal citations or anything else that might come up that we will look at before we determine whether or not you can move to the next phase.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we return shortly, we'll have more with the Philadelphia Police Department Recruitment Unit process, so stay with us.